it's great to be here, and this is what we're going to be talking about for the next 5 minutes, and let me just launch into it, and we're talking about SAFT. So SAFT stands for Simple Agreement for Future Tokens, and this is a security that then converts into tokens on the public launch or the public ICO. And it's really a vehicle that's used for seed funding to help build the network. And it's based on Y Combinator's SAFE instrument. And what's important is, it's a security, but it's based on the idea, just in the context that it's historically been used, that the underlying token would not be a security. And this is what has kind of gotten people into trouble, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So the background on the SAFT, essentially, it typically carries no interest. It typically carries a discount into the conversion into the token, and there might be a cap. There might be various bells and whistles that people can think of that get integrated into the SAFT. Now, this was based on the SAFE, and the SAFE was a simple agreement for future equity. And what's interesting here is that the SAFE has been in the crosshairs of the SEC. The SEC put out a bulletin in May 2017 saying, be cautious of SAFEs in crowdfunding. And they said there's nothing standard or simple about a SAFE. So I think we should have taken a little bit of warning from that, this was something that the SEC was not necessarily super happy with. But we've certainly had some successes with SAFT. Filecoin ICO was the big one in August 2017. They raised $257 million in a general solicitation under 506C. And soon after that, some of the principals involved in that ICO came out with a white paper, Protocol Labs and Cooley. And I really like what they said. We're committed to creating many diverse paths for responsible blockchain innovation, and we view the white paper as our initial contributions to discussion. And I take them at their word. I think it was a good initial contribution. It began the discussion. Some people viewed it as sort of the be-all and end-all, but I don't think that was ever the intention. This sort of began the controversy around the SAFT. So the Cardozo Law School paper came out, not so fast, risks related to the use of a SAFT for token sales. And they had several points, which are on my slides here, but the main point is that basically, the SAFT, the way they're being used, the way they have been used, it's a security, but then it's going to turn into not a security on conversion. It's going to turn into essentially what people viewed as a utility token that they were hoping would not be viewed as a security. And Cardozo warned that this is kind of a dubious proposition, that if you're hanging your sort of whole structure on that. And I think that the way that things have played out with the SEC, I think we've seen that that is in fact the case. What has happened is that many of these token sales that have followed up on the SAFT issuances, the SEC is saying, wait a minute, we're going to view that as a security. And so the dilemma that we like to talk about is, can the frog become a prince? So the frog is the security, right? It's got various limitations, and you want it to become a commodity. You want to have less limitations. And can that really happen? And I think we're hearing from the SEC what the SEC thinks. Certainly, what I want to focus on in this list of actions is the first quarter of 2018. There have been multiple SEC subpoenas and investigations opened into companies that are doing ICOs, which mostly had done a SAFT and now are doing ICOs and taking the position that it's a utility token and it's not regulated by the securities laws. So Lowell already talked a bit about the Munchie case. I think it's a good case from the standpoint of, there was no indications of fraud, yet the SEC showed how serious they are about the Howey test. And, again, Chairman Clayton, I believe every ICO I've seen is a security. And I think we have to take him at his word. I mean, most of what you guys are doing here today, most of what you're going to be doing is going to be viewed as a security. So I think you have to realize that. So the takeaways. There are not many princes in real life. So, most of the frogs are not going to become princes. We have to deal with the world where we're dealing with securities. And I think that gives us some scope to be imaginative, to approach things with fresh eyes. And I think that the SEC wants this market to thrive. I think we can work with the SEC, and we just have to keep innovating with due diligence and due caution. And I think we can all do well in a compliant framework. Thank you.